everybody, welcome to the Comic and Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and Halloween is coming upon us in the near future. So I decided to give you guys another horror classic. One of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe not one of my favorite movies of all time, but one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I love this movie. I absolutely adore it. It gave me my favorite version of vampires. Like, I don't get me wrong. There will always be a place in my heart, and there will always be a place that I enjoy for the more traditional vampire, for the more sexy vampire, for the Lost Boys type of a vampire, for the Dracula, the classic Dracula type of a vampire, for a more like a more classic vampire, the more stalkerish, the more seductive vampire. Interview with a Vampire type of a vampire. Love those movies. Love Interview with a Vampire. Love The Lost Boys. But you have to understand, this is 2007's 30 Days of Night. And you have to understand where the world was in 2007. We were in the midst of Twilight. Yes, those movies. And we were in the midst of Twilight, and then they would come out with the Vampire Diaries, and they started doing these vampires who all these pretty boys, and they're just lovely, hold the girl and caress her, and they'd seduce her, and then they'd eat her neck, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right. And it was all vampires were depicted this way for a chunk of time, from like 2007 to like 2010. It was like a shit ton of vampire movies where like these pretty vampires, these young guys, handsome as fuck, like just caressing these women and just like seducing them and then drinking their blood, and then and it was not very scary. Even I have love in my heart for Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. Love in my heart for those movies. For those shows. Absolute. But they kind of started the whole cute, handsome, pretty boy vampire thing, in my opinion anyway. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other movies that did it, but those shows really played that up. And so, in my mind, I was like, I really want to see something raw. I want to see something raw. I want to see something vicious. 30 Days a Night gave me that. And it's an amazing concept as well. The idea of it. Sometimes horror movies, you yourself think to yourself, like, there's an easy out. You know what I mean? How often are you watching a horror movie? Or you've watched a horror movie, or even a thriller, and you thought, all you would have to do is this. You know what I mean? Watching a ghost movie. Some weird, unexplainable, crazy shit happens at the beginning of the movie. In your mind, you go, we should just pack up and leave because it might be a ghost. But there's nothing to prepare you for living in Alaska, for one, which is cold as fuck. And in Alaska, sometimes, I don't know if it's yearly, but there's a chunk of time where the sun is gone for 30 days, where it's literally 30 days of straight night before the sun comes back up. I don't think that's a year-round thing, but when it happens, it happens. And it's just like night for 30 days. And out there, you're probably used to that shit happening. You're used to there being 30 days of night. And a lot of towns are spread apart from each other. Some towns are days away from each other. And there's nothing you can do to prepare for fucking vicious vampires coming into your town and going on a murder spree. There's like nothing, and I've often said that some of my favorite movies, period, are movies where a character or characters are in a normal situation that becomes abnormal quickly, and they have to figure out how the fuck, and they're just like, what the fuck are we gonna do? I love those situations because it allows you as the viewer, particularly me also, to kind of put myself in their shoes and be like, what would I do if I'm just doing a normal fucking thing and vampires just start attacking the town? You know what I mean? And I couldn't run away. It's cold. The next town's miles away. Somebody miles away, there ain't no vehicles we can use because apparently some asshole decided to destroy the vehicles. Because these vampires were smart and knew that we couldn't let them get away, and they can't run away because it's too cold. And you end up with one of the most gory, violent, brutal movies of vampires on screen of all time, 30 Days of Night. Absolutely love this movie. So the movie, as I've already kind of shown, is about this small town in Alaska. This is a normal small town in Alaska. You know, it does that thing that a lot of zombie movies and stuff do, or movies like that where they show people in their normal environment at the beginning. They show everyone in the normal environment. The sheriff is, he's having a tough time, keeping things together. There's a lot of drama around, a lot of drama between a whole bunch of different characters around. And like I said, the sheriff's having a tough time keeping it together, and there's a lot there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And, he's got there's a girl he used to be into who's back in town, and he's talking to her. There's like I said, a lot going on. But, it's just a typical day. It's a typical day. They're all preparing for these 30 days. Because, they know these 30 days of nights coming up. They know it's going to be cold. So they're all preparing. They're all, getting ready for it. There's some bullshit going on, but it's nothing that bad. They kind of set up certain story beats about certain people having feelings about one another. Like I say, they just set up some drama. There's one character who's an older man. I think it's an older man, like his older, bigger guy with long hair who's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and they kind of talk to him. And, like I say, they set up a couple different characters so that you can really follow them as this crazy situation is going down. And suddenly, a big-ass ship just kind of comes on, shows up in the night. Now, they're far away, so it's not, we don't know this, but a ship shows up. And one man gets off this ship. Now, this ship is shot so dark, you don't see any lights on, you don't see any movement. It's just this one man walks off this ship. One dude. And he goes to the town. He kills all the dogs and animals. He goes on a killing spree of the dogs and animals. He starts messing with the vehicles and shit. And they capture him, right? And they just like, what the fuck is going on? Now, we know this dude's a familiar. And if you've watched Blade or any other vampire movie, you know what a familiar is. And almost as sudden as that guy showed up, terror reigned upon their town. There is a sequence in this movie that's one of my all-time favorite sequences in a movie of the bloodbath. I call it the bloodbath sequence. It's like the thing about these vampires that make them unique and so fun is that they're more animal than any other vampires in a movie. Well, maybe not any other, but they're more animal than most other vampires. In fact, the only one who acts with any logic and who acts like a human is the main head vampire of the pecking order, is the alpha. He kind of talks and speaks and thinks and comes up with the plans and whatnot. He does that. The rest of them are wild animals, man. They're coming after you. They're dragging you. They are just shredding people. Man, woman, child, all of it, baby. All of them. I mean, it is a terrifying scene because in my mind, like a lot of things, I think to myself, what the fuck what am I even doing in this scene? I'm running, but I'm like, oh my God, these things are strong. These things are fast. They're vicious. They're hunting in packs. It's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? It's hard to even kill one of these things, man. Damn near impossible. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Now, we know that the characters we're following, particularly the detective, the sheriff, they kind of figure out ways to survive until sunlight, because they figure out, look, we're going to just find a place to hide until the sun comes up. Which means we need to find a place, hide there for 30 days, somehow, the sun comes up, they will have to leave. Little do they know that old vampires had a plan, because they were going to burn the entire town to the ground to cover up the evidence that they ever existed and move on to the next town. Like, that was their plan. But obviously, plan doesn't go accordingly. But yeah, this movie is great, man. I love the horror aspects of it because you're terrified because it's not one vampire. It's a pack of them. It's like about 30 of these motherfuckers, man. It's like 30 of them. Yeah, I'd say about 30 of them, which doesn't sound like a big number. But when they're moving the way they're moving and doing it the way they're doing it, it's a lot, man. And they're scary, dude. And like the design of their teeth and whatnot, like they don't have a couple fangs. They have maws, dude. They have like rows of teeth. They got like shark faces, dude. They're not biting. They're shredding you. Like, it ain't a game, you know? And the bite rules apply. They bite you, you turn into a vampire, so those rules apply. But the thing that turns out to be is, if you have a certain genetic trait in you, you have the ability to become an alpha. And what that means is you have the ability to retain most of your, let's say, human nature. Like, be like a blade of some sort, of a sort. You have the ability to retain your human nature, except for, you know, certain things. You know, obviously you need to drink blood and shit, you're gonna die, but you have the ability to retain some of your human nature. And to control lesser vampires, or they will follow you. But, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a couple of lore bits in this as well, kind of hinting that they've been around for a long time, and this is how vampires operate in this world, is that they just kind of go around in secret. Like, I think there was even a comic book about the events on the boat, because I think that'd be cool too. Man, 30 Days a Night to me, I love this movie. So fucking bloody. If you're looking for a good time, a bloody good time, with some vampires, and a scenario that is, like, in a scenario that makes sense. Like I say, it's such a crazy scenario, and I would hate to be in it. It's one of those scenarios and in movies that I'm like, yo, that would suck. Because you can't even run away. Because what's the best case scenario? You run away and you freeze to death in the middle of nowhere and get eaten by wolves. That's the best case scenario. So it's like, well, fuck. I'm a fight. Anyways, thank you guys for the comment. Oh, almost forgot. As a horror movie, I give it an 8 out of 10. As a horror movie, I give it about an 8.5 out of 10. As a movie, it's probably, I think it's a 7. I think it's a good movie. I enjoyed this movie. Is it the best shot movie? No. Does it have the best acting in the world? No. I think everyone's serviceable. You know, enough for the plot to work. It's not like there's any performances in it that like made me go, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, you know, ain't no fucking, you know, oh my God, you know, it's nothing like that. It's not like It, where It, like the It remake had like 3 or 2, like at least 3 performances that I'm like, particularly Skarsgård as Pennywise himself. So, but it's not that. But you're coming for the gore. You're coming for the massacre. You're coming for the viciousness of these vampires, the scariness of the situation, the characters scratching and clawing to survive. That's what you're coming to this movie for. That's why I love it. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Guy Movie Show. Please do like, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.